Hello, and welcome back to another chapter of Fear of Imposing in Black Rock City. You know, normally I would say it's a wondrous chapter. It's a beautiful chapter. It's a magical chapter. But you know what? This chapter ain't so wondrous. This chapter ain't so magical. It's not so beautiful. I've actually had it up to my fucking wit's end with this place, you know? And for anyone who hasn't put two and two together, Mystery Mustard Man, that's me, Eric Michael, author of Fear of Imposing in Black Rock City. And we've had some kind chapters. We've had some beautiful experiences. But over the past week, we've also had some environmental disasters, you know? And the thing is, when an environmental disaster, a rainstorm, a hurricane, a typhoon, an earthquake happens out in this desert, what happens is it turns into a swamp. It turns into a swamp. And when there are 70,000 goddamn degenerates out in this desert, causing a fucking mess, being drunk off their fucking rocker, high out of their goddamn mind, they don't take much consideration into this beautiful desert, into this wondrous dry lake bed. They get careless, as if they aren't already enough. And what happens is this swamp, this beautiful desert, it starts swallowing, turns into a chasm, and it swallows trash. And then that crazy leave no trace principle goes right out the fucking window. Because do you think anyone afterwards is digging through this beautiful desert? False. Incorrect. Whatever cannot be raked, whatever cannot be picked up with the hands, whatever has not been eaten by the earth, remains in the goddamn earth. And for anyone who may not know, me and a few pals run a non-profit organization called the Cleaning Clizzard Services. The Clizzard Cleaning Services. And we service the deserts of the American South and Northwest. And we come out and we clean up after idiot litter bugs who trash our beautiful American deserts. And that's what you see behind me. We are cleaning. And after I wrap up this chapter, we will go out and we will clean more. And we won't even make a dent in this goddamn city. But you know what? Every piece of trash counts. Every piece of litter counts. Every piece of garbage counts. So that's why we're here. And that's why today's sponsor is Leave No Trace. Because as hard as we try, it's not going to do much. Because there are 70,000 people out here, most of which are careless. But we will try our best. Also, sub-sponsor, Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Because this goddamn event is not only fueled by gasoline, not only fueled by diesel, butane. No. This goddamn event is fueled by a sense of insane hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. And anyone who disagrees is a goddamn fucking idiot. So, just bear in mind as I go through this not so wondrous, not so magical, not so beautiful chapter, because I have a lot to say about the hypocrisy that fuels this event. So, Chapter 7 of Fear of Imposing in Black Rock City by Eric Michael. Fall head over heels in love with hypocrisy. Thursday morning, day 4. Once arriving back to camp, it was nearing dawn. Chief was there alone, on a beanbag in full lotus, having mastered the position overnight. His eyes spoke as if understanding something wretched took place. The full moon brought forth some foul creatures last night, he said, and what of your evening? Some gypsies near duped me into summoning Beelzebub, I replied. If I hadn't any wits about me, we'd all be 6 feet under, pushing up daisies. We'd be better off with a biblical catastrophe, but life is full of utter disappointment. This mescaline has me feeling demonic. What say we blow dodge and repent before I start speaking in tongues? Under these deplorable conditions, our kindness must prevail. Let us eat from the forbidden fruit, he replied, opening a pack of cigarettes filled to the brim with mushrooms, and then we will offer our love in return. We'd been quite rambunctious up until that point, having managed to irritate more people than not. So, we set out on a heroic quest to hug and express our endless gratitude to all those who needed it most. However, this couldn't be done in any old fashion. They had to be the most confusing hugs ever given. Once spotting our targets in the distance, we'd pedal frantically in their direction as if to blow right past them. Like clockwork, they'd stutter step before bobbing and weaving in a panic. Once 10 yards out, we'd ditch our bikes at full speed, launching them into the empty expanse, and sprint our way up. They'd cower before we'd halt dead in our tracks, smiling to open each arm for the warmest hug this side the Mississippi. Most would laugh hysterically, having appreciated the over-dramatized charade. This went on for several hours, receiving every reaction under the sun. Gratitude, happiness, confusion, trepidation, anger, fear, and loathing. Then, to our absolute delight, we'd receive one response not even the likes of us, 2 hand-selected Spartan hots on a mission from God, could have dreamt to expect. We'd been riding nowhere awfully fast, and in being so very late, by the time he was spotted it seemed he'd already forgotten our appointment. He was a burly man without companion, bike, and of little clothing aside from shoulder straps, black panties, and boots. There was also a little pouch hanging from the hip, which likely held magic beans used for swindling gypsies in a pinch. I'd never seen the embodiment of such raw, unadulterated power look so famished and defeated, like a He-Man action figure who'd let himself fall headfirst off the wagon. What battles must he have waged the night before, I wondered, and what damsel in distress had left his side? Look there, Chief, I said. We've got a live one. Holy hot hell, he replied. That guy definitely needs a proper hugging. We hightailed it in full bore. There was no time to lose. He-Man was facing the opposite direction, head held low in shame, defenses down and unsuspecting of ambush. I can only imagine the microsecond rationalizations made as 2 bikes whizzed past him at both sides with no riders mounted. An unordinary sight for an unordinary place. In a fit of confusion, his head spun with a ghastly look of terror, knees buckling to the sight of 2 Terminator T-1000s mad dashing right for him. His body language screamed, "Jesus fucking Christ! I'm about to get jumped and robbed blind of my magic bean sack!" Yet before he'd a moment to contemplate fight or flight, we'd stop with arms stretched wider than the universe's outskirts, having snuggled into him as if our entire world. "We love you, friend!" I yelled. "We've been looking everywhere for you," Chief chimed. Squished tight into our warm embrace, he began to cry hysterically, having thanked us over and over through each heartfelt sob. We stood in his big bare arms silently, cherishing the moment like 2 hobbits, face pressed to the sweaty jockstrap of an ogreish angel, until he spoke. "Why me?" he asked in embarrassment. "Why would you guys wish to hug me?" Still up to our nuts in telepathic abilities, Chief and I took turns finishing the other sentences like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. "Hast thee forgotten our appointment? Long past due for thine anointment. 'Tis our greatest honors to bestow. A boundless love you'll come to know. Now we kneel before thy grace, if just to see thy smiling face." Tears poured as he met our gaze in disbelief, as if unsure of being real or a wondrous waking dream. But who's to say it wasn't? Perhaps we'd caught that so very adoring man at a low point in life, having needed to be told he mattered, wasn't alone, and loved for no other reason than the sake of loving. We were no more than humble Care Bears on blow, at the right place at the right time, paying ourselves in key bumps to do the Lord's work. For all I know, that man's very existence underwent a quantum shift that day, and all it took was an unsolicited hug. I feel it necessary to express that this was before the Me Too movement. It's safe to say things have changed. I'm not advocating for people to ghost ride their bike at full speed before delivering a frightening hug without consent, but I'll never have regretted that choice either. Eventually, we'd stumble upon a ripping party at the trash fence. Like any other joint, I flailed my chopper away from the crowd. Chief, however, having regained some unexpected mannerisms, gently propped down his kickstand only to lose them immediately and roundhouse kick the bike over. "Was that really necessary?" a wailing banshee yelled. She was peacocking around in a gimp suit, platform boots, black boa draped at the neck, and a feather crown. "Absolutely, Toots," he replied, smiling. "Actually, we just rode the last 2 miles for this very spot, just so I could kick my bike down and hear you bitch about my lifestyle." Uncertainty befell her, as if having desired a rasher response. For someone so seemingly upset with his bicycle, Chief's calm and calculated demeanor was puzzling. I suppose it was back to doing what we did best, harshing the vibe without intent. Could no one lend support towards our domestic bicycle abuse? A passionate act so wildly misunderstood. My bike, my body, my choice, right? An onlooker approached laughing about the interaction, wearing nothing but long johns, tattered bathrobe, and a comically oversized top hat. "You know," he said, "for such an awfully bizarre place, people sure tend to take things far too seriously, wouldn't you say?" "Finally," Chief replied. "It's about damn time someone here fucking gets it." "Doth thou mind if I relieve myself upon thy feet, my good man?" I joked. "I'd much prefer otherwise," he laughed. "But how about some candy? I've got loads." He unzipped the backpack resting over his plump stomach, having revealed pounds of sweets like some grungy Willy Wonka. "Take as much as you want," he said. "May need it." I was higher than a Russian space satellite and had no idea what to make of this mad-hatting Candyman scenario. We stuffed our pockets to the brim with Skittles and Starbursts, offered him some disco dandruff, and jigged about on our merry way. Then, just moments later, one of the most magical things to have ever happened to me at Burning Man took place. I was smoking a cigarette, jamming to the music and peacefully minding my own business when this drop-dead gorgeous gal approached to flip my world right side up. There was a bewildering twinkle in her eyes, soul-shattering to the human condition. Free-flowing white garments draped her petite frame like a fairy tale nymph of a Celtic realm. A daisy rested in her ear, so radiant that it must have bathed in the light of stars far beyond our sun. I fear my words to be inadequate, for her ruthless beauty left me awestruck to what mysteries must transcend this physical plane. She'd embodied the etheric and defined the eternities of time, a symbol of love, compassion, and vitality incarnate. Her mere presence felt inescapable, a gravitational pull of which floored me to the depths of humility previously unbeknownst. She was the most adorable little bundle of joy, holding an enormous, burning bundle of sage. Her words flowed like sweet angelic whispers as heaven and earth collided to share in forbidden, holy matrimony. "Hey," she said, "there's no mooping allowed." "I'm not moping," I replied. "It's a beautiful morning." "Not moping, mooping. You're being a mooper." "Listen, lady, I don't know what the hell you're saying." "It means matter out of place. You aren't allowed to ash your cigarette on the playa." I looked down to her gargantuan bundle of burning sage, then back up at her. "Just what the fuck are you on about?" I asked. "I said," she replied, challenging the DJ's decibel, "you aren't allowed to ash your cigarette on the playa." Once more, I peered to the over-excessive burning bundle of ash being carried in the wind, then up at her, then down, then up, then towards the 60-foot-tall wooden man who was set to burn in 2 days, and asked politely, "How goddamn high are you right now?" This was another critical moment in my earthly existence and rapid evolution, where I fell absolutely head over fucking heels in love with hypocrisy. I am all for what comes from the earth returns to the earth. A little trinkle of piss, few pinches of ash, several gallons of blood, sweat, and tears. Let Gaia feast on what is purged. However, I couldn't believe the audacity of this gorgeously self-righteous twat bag. She was holding a bundle of sage twice the size of my forearm, accumulating more ash in 10 seconds than 20 Cuban cigars smoked all at once. Yet my teeny-weeny, eensy-weensy Rolly was committing war crimes resulting in scorched earth, and she was the goddamn Black Rock City Fire Department coming in to issue me a citation for this MOOP violation. Which, by the way, whose fucking bright idea was it to reinvent the word litter? There's no impact or poetry behind MOOP, and it lacks the beautifully harsh undertones of garbage and trash. Anyways, it really got me thinking, just how full of their own shit are these people? I don't wish to sit here like a negative Nancy and just rip into this event. Such would be a fool's errand. After all, I have the wherewithal to take it at face value, being a knee-slapping good time with the option for metamorphosis. To dissect each of the principles which fuels Burning Man's exceptional hypocrisy would leave me writing an entirely different book, likely titled Burning Con Man or Beer and Loathing in Hypocrisy. But truth be told, I don't have nearly enough cocaine to do so. With that said, dipping toes wouldn't hurt, and would frankly be irresponsible of a metaphorical blacksmith to not fashion a weapon out of some one-trick pony's piss-poor etiquette. So, if I'm to ruffle some feathers, it may as well be from the breasts of the beast. Now, if there's any one Burning Man principle of which drives me right up and over the goddamn wall, it's leave no trace. Defined as, our community respects the environment. We are committed to leaving no physical trace of our activities wherever we gather. We clean up after ourselves and endeavor, whenever possible, to leave such places in a better state than when we found them. This being the absolute biggest crock of shit I've ever heard. I've never seen more trash in my life than following the devastating aftermath of Burning Man. This desert and every city within 200 miles being fucked to hell. Let's start with Black Rock City and the fact that it's left looking like a graveyard of worthless rubbish. As if several thousand attendees are under some psychotic impression that Reno's homeless are gonna make the grueling trek on foot and put their broken canopies to good use. Rusted barbecues, tattered tents, tables with mangled legs, pots and pans with bacon grease, blankets with crusted cum. I could go on and on with what makes that sacred desert look like a post-apocalyptic drug war transpired between hippies and Skynet, fought with sex toys and good vibes. Thousands, plural, of bikes are left abandoned on this dry lake bed every single fucking year. For being an anti-commerce event that preaches sustainability, this is the epitome of throwaway consumerism. You can't declare a stance against leaving an ecological footprint with a smoke 'em if you've got 'em mentality. The virtue signaling is insufferable, and this gross negligence is the direct result of spoiled brats spending thousands of dollars just to cosplay in the desert as enlightened individuals looking to escape their mainstream society and reject the system for 1 week out of the year. But this doesn't fall on Burning Man, right? They're no more than the ones enabling it. Anyone can hold up a fist, make a sign, and preach. But many burners seem to enjoy doing this high on LSD whilst choosing to remain ignorant towards their culture collapsing in on itself. I mean, Jesus H. fucking Christ. In 2018, a 100,000-pound goddamn 747 jumbo jetliner was left on playa for nearly a month, having scarred it to hell. A club, mind you, of which turned away hundreds upon hundreds of people, while only allowing access to the rich, famous, or hot Instagram models of the world. Radical inclusion, my fucking ass. But don't even get me started on how willing Burning Man is to turn a blind eye on their own bullshit ethos of radical inclusion in favor of the privileged. But who cares about the lower class? Once passing through those gates in awe of the excess on display, the elaborate camps, art, performances, and multi-million-dollar art cars hosting ragey parties reminiscent of a capitalist soiree and showcase of their absurd wealth, we're all equals, right? A collective consciousness praising, "We are one!" Status becomes meaningless, and social segregation is abolished. That is, unless you've purchased a pre-packaged plug-and-play experience, of which reaffirms status, cements segregation, causes disparity in engagement, and requires zero communal effort. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, those pompous fucking cultural vultures and their spectacularly oversized hunk of shit plane are now heading to Las Vegas to make it a permanent party venue for another demographic of insufferable slaves to superficiality, where it'll inevitably go on to scar another desert. My most sincere apologies. More than warranted anger has caused me to digress. I don't wish to delve too far into the infamous Mudman year of 2023, considering it was a bit of an outlier. However, that does not negate what transpired. Mountains of trash and vehicles alike having been completely abandoned by people both unprepared and unwilling to face the discomfort which accompanies unfavorable weather conditions. Boo fucking who? I cannot even begin to fathom the absurd amount of trash which was swallowed by the playa, an irreversible impact laying waste to the ecosystem. It wasn't some great mystery that there'd be rain, and because of the org's negligence, all that garbage embedded in the earth will remain there forever. While assholes terrorizing the desert and leaving all their shit behind isn't technically the organization's fault, if declaring Burning Man as a transformative community and not a festival, then someone needs to start fucking holding that community accountable. I'm well aware that the org remains in that desert beyond the event's end, cleaning up to the very best of their abilities. I don't wish to take away from that. After all, it's their mess to clean. However, anyone who thinks they're addressing the mayhem caused to the cities just beyond those gates, or all the debris that escapes the trash fence while carried miles away by the wind, is out of their goddamn mind. I've never seen more trash and fully abandoned trailers line the sides of a highway, and that's coming from someone who's lived in Los Angeles. This isn't solely the result of things not being secured. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of burners actively throwing their garbage into the desert to avoid costs of proper disposal and/or because they don't want their own vehicles smelling like their own shit. Someone else will come along and clean it up, right? So, who fucking cares? As for the unworldly amount of garbage which does manage to leave Black Rock Desert, do you think all 70,000 attendees are taking their crap to their local landfills? Hell no. To a vast number of scumbags, pack it in, pack it out means bring everything from home and then find someplace close to dump everything anywhere all at once. Stick around following that week and see what tragedies are laid upon the neighboring cities. Gerlach, fucked. Fernley, fucked. Nixon, fucked. Paiute Res, fucked. Sparks, fucked. Reno, fucked. Carson City, fucked. Truckee, fucked. Tahoe, fucked. The list goes on and on. Burners are tossing all their shit next to the already overflowing dumpsters of every available business while pouring gray water into the streets. These are both the wildlife's and people's fucking homes we're talking about here, being treated as goddamn waste sites. This isn't radical self-reliance. It's radically relying on others to clean up after your fucking mess. An unwarranted responsibility of which falls on the shoulders of inhabitants who've had their villages quite fucking literally raped and pillaged by stampedes of self-righteous yet ill-mannered and insensitive fucking pricks. You don't fucking come into someone else's fucking home with your fucking boots on and drag mud all over their fucking carpet. It's fucking rude. Either be and do better or fuck right off. Pretend for a moment that this failed utopian experiment played out according to plan. Everyone did their part, and that desert was left spick and span. Let's ask ourselves, just how much waste is made pre and post event? Our group was a prime example of this, having several unopened contractor bags full of brand new rubbish. Where did they all go? Right in the bin. We were so over-prepared and unexpecting that we'd been blinded by ignorance to any concept of waste whatsoever. But we were just one small group and Burning Man averages 70,000 attendees. How many LED lights are getting thrown away? How many toxic batteries are being improperly disposed of? How much plastic wrapping is going straight to the landfills? The answers are haunting. That was fun. How about another round? Let's pretend there was no trash left at Burning Man, no waste made pre or post event. I adore all the Save the World advocates at this place. They go around preaching with performative grief about how we're killing our environment, laying waste to our ecosystems, and raping our Gaia Earth Mother. Yet they're totally cool with this party burning fossil fuels for weeks on end. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of gasoline, propane and butane, likely enough to run a small, third world country for an entire fucking year. What do you think that's doing to the air? The organization doesn't want you disrupting the playa. But what is bringing dozens upon dozens of heavy, high-powered, diesel-operated vehicles and equipment to erect a small city doing to it? What's all the microtrash doing to the desert's ecosystem? It's fucking hilarious, and only further demonstrates their gross negligence. These morons criticize the state of our planet, lay blame on the industrial complex, yet demand ridiculous amounts of non-renewable energy to run the show. This isn't just hypocritical, but demonstrates wild levels of inaction and total lack of conviction. Either put your money where your mouth is while walking the walk instead of talking the talk, or shut the fuck up altogether and stop trying to be something you aren't. Their ethos of leave no trace is no more than an elaborate con and tantalizing show of smoke and mirrors. But just beyond the veil, you'll find non-conforming conformists conforming to non-conformist ideologies of conformism. There's no bamboozling a bamboozler, bucko. It's honestly quite ironic that the most Burning Man thing someone could ever do is simply not go to Burning Man. I love the art to death, but don't get me started on how much lumber is used to make it all, only to burn to the ground within a few days. I get that's the whole point. And sure, a lot of it may be recycled wood, but a lot of it isn't. This brings us full circle to where we began, with a dumb bitch yelling at me over ash because it's considered moop. So, please tell me, who is going into the outskirts of Black Rock Desert and sweeping up every little piece of ash carried away in the wind after all the art burns? Nobody. That's who, because it's fucking ash. When it comes to this event, there's no such thing as leaving no trace. And if you aren't upset about the hypocrisy, then you are part of the problem. Though I suppose for those unable to see the correlation, you're just too goddamn brain dead or batshit ignorant to begin with. Burning Man strives to portray this image of a self-sustaining utopian dreamscape, but without the slaves to social status, multi-billionaires who partner with, invest, and build this place out of theme camps comprised of the rich and famous, the event we know today wouldn't see the light of day. It'd go back to being a small party on the gusty shores of San Francisco. And maybe that'd be a good thing. They likely even believed their own bullshit back then. But for the record, I'm not complaining about this. If it weren't for these rich sons of bitches wanting to throw a killer party, I wouldn't be able to get twisted sideways in front of an art car with $5 million worth of laser beams on it. The only difference between people like me and those hypocrites I'm tearing into is that I'm not pretending to know why I'm at this party. And the sooner I can clean my Victorian mirror of all this cocaine, the sooner I can hold it up to all these goddamn phonies. I don't express these things as a spiteful cynic, but as a passionate hopeful. There are lots of attendees coming for their first time who are entirely unaware of their impact by simply being out here, just like our camp was. And the org is actively trying to reach and influence those people, implementing sustainable principles and ideology, while teaching these values in ways that are radically different. By no means are they succeeding in being a utopian community, but it's an experiment at the end of the day. There are real people out here in Black Rock City who are trying their best, saying things like, this is our goal, what we're aiming to accomplish, and this is how we're doing it. We want you to take so-and-so away from this experience. We know we aren't perfect. Nobody is, and there's no such thing as a utopian society. However, we can try our best to make it happen our way. That's an awesome mentality, but don't shove some shit down my throat that you aren't going to shove down your own. Many festivals try and do this, establishing similar principles like zero waste and becoming environmentally conscious, but the festival itself is not. Instead, it's more about what you can learn and take away from the experience, while bringing it back to your own community, in turn, creating a positive impact. When our group left that year, we threw away mounds of trash. However, on the plus side, we learned from those mistakes, having understood in the years to follow how to properly prepare and not create an abundance of waste. It isn't about what you take to Burning Man, it's about what you bring back. We can implement many aspects of what the 10 Principles teaches us into our everyday lives, But then there are some which can only remain within a city constructed and burnt to the ground in the middle of the desert once a year. Either way, one thing is for certain: we must find a way to cut the shit, accept our faults, and integrate purposeful solutions through action instead of being unproductive, finger-pointing, grief-performing, hypocritical assholes with smudge bundles. There will always be a special place in my heart for Burning Man. However, so shall it remain the skid mark on my drawers. Anyways, after a few dozen more hugs, handshakes with cops, and an obliterated left nostril, our departure was made. We pedaled far until exhausting ourselves and dropping to the ground. An hour must have passed without speaking a word, having gazed in the desert beyond like stoic pioneers in appreciation of the final frontier. There was a mutual understanding amidst that silence, having embarked on this subconscious conquest of confusion upon this ever mystic playground. A desire was fed in being questioned by others, for in our absurd reflection, the more they'd question the senseless actions of their own. What more was there for this place to offer us, aside from much needed rest? We arrived back to find Lone Wolf nestled safely on a beanbag, in the arms of a once treacherous pterodactyl. Sleazy was cuddled up next to him, buck naked with an empty bottle of Jack Daniels tightly gripped. The cleaning crew was making rounds at the porta potties, and the generator had a leak while running on fumes. Screw napalm. There's nothing like the smell of gasoline, septic waste, and poor choices from the night before in the morning. Wow. Yeah. Get your fucking shit together, Burning Man. Thank you so much for joining me for another something chapter of Fear of Imposing in Black Rock City. My name is Eric Michael, aka the Mustard Man. If you have a problem with me, come fucking find me and I will let you know how things are supposed to be done, and I will quite literally clean your goddamn clock. See you next time, y'all.